Welcome to the after party. Welcome to the after party. Did you bring some snacks and treats?
Yes, it did.
I hope you got me something to eat.
Maybe.
Welcome to the after party. Coming to the after party.
Right now.
I've been waiting here all day to act like a fool this way. Welcome to the after party. Join us in the after party.
Right now.
Oh, chocolate and gabbing, maybe some microphone gabbing at the after party.
With DJ Eric Page.
That's the way it should be, DJ Eric Pagey. I mean, that's the way it should be, I guess. So,
DJ Eric Pagey and the Phantom Dab is all I like to call
the
him.
Phantom Dab. Welcome to the after party.
3.5.
It is, 3.5. It is I am Pagey, which, by the way, when we go into the 4.0 after party, there will indeed be a new theme song. I'm already working on it, and we're gonna have to come up with some ad libs. It'll be fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Apparently, look, I'm not the one to spoil things, but I have heard it's a bit thug rap. There is some thug rap.
I took inspiration from Return of the Mac and Hot in Here, so that's really kind of what it. That's the vibe that I'm going for.
So what? No. Love is a Battlefield? Nothing.
No, definitely not that. Definitely not that one. So,
interesting.
Let me do the super chat first because it's going to disappear otherwise. We'll do this quickly, and then we got a few things we're going to talk about. Fireflame62 with a $20 super chat. $20 because he is just as frustrated as everyone else is. I think if every episode after this isn't fire, I would consider season 7 a fail. Hopefully, season 2 of Superman and Lois moves to Max, so the CW stigma won't get on the show at this point. The Titanverse and Pennyworth is better. So I've never watched Pennyworth. I can't comment on that.
Yeah, no. If that last sentence wasn't there, I would have.
You would have co-signed. You would have co-signed.
I would have co-signed. Maybe I don't know necessarily Superman Lois moving to Max because it's already. I don't think it would change anyway. But yeah, Titans. I look. Okay, so let me say this. I wish that I could see what other people see in that show because it doesn't hit for me like that. Look, it just doesn't. Look, Titans for me, season 1's like solid. It's like a 7.5. You know, it's got some really good bits, and then just some elements of it just don't work. Season 2 is worse than Arrow season 4.
Okay,
it's only bad. It's just, it's a disappointment. It's the worst handling of potential I've ever seen on a show. I'd say it's Inhumans bad.
Okay. Well, I will say this though. I is that's awful. As much as I'm annoyed with the Flash right now, after seeing the preview for next week, which isn't really what we're going to be talking about, but after seeing the preview for next week, I'm hoping that the remainder of the season is actually something similar to like what we normally get on the show. But yeah, if the next few episodes aren't good, we're gonna have a completely different conversation at the end of the season for sure. So
Clifford DeVoe said at least Titans season 2 had a better villain. Who was the villain? It definitely wasn't Deathstroke. He was hardly in the freaking show.
The villain was the team getting back together and breaking up. That's happened so many times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
The villain was the retcons. That's what the villain was in season 2. Anyway.
Yeah. So before we get into this, because there's one thing I want to talk about that's YouTube related, but then I want to cover what you've watched and what you haven't watched. So what was on your watch list this week? What have you watched and what haven't you watched from the 4 shows?
I watched. I watched Bat Female.
Okay.
The Floche, and
Obviously, Superman and Lois, because your review came out like an hour ago.
Yeah, Superman and Lois.
Yeah.
And I did watch Lucky last night. And
did you see this? Stephen, he already commented on it, by the way. He made a statement about this.
Yeah,
he was kicked off a flight, and it sounds like it was a misunderstanding, but still not a good look.
Yeah, no, I didn't see the news. I just saw his response. I think it was last night.
Apparently he got into an argument with his wife and he raised his voice, and so they came over and told him to keep it down. And then a few minutes after that, they actually told him he had to get off the plane. That's what he says happened. And he booked another flight with another airline, and that's the story. But I mean, we don't know. The actual airline made a statement and said that they did have to kick him off because things were getting out of hand, and he's saying that it wasn't that serious. So I don't know if there's any video footage. Maybe we'll find out. Have no idea. Let's see. There was another one up here that I was going to comment on. Anyway, so the thing I want to talk about is this is kind of interesting. So we know that YouTube with the subscriber system, like they've been trying to get people to, use that over like outside linked places like Patreon and things like that. And starting, what is it? On July 23rd, all unlisted videos uploaded before 2017 will be made private. They will all just automatically go to private. And they went on with the system where if you don't want this to happen to any future content, you need to go in and fill out a form to make sure that your unlisted videos don't get automatically switched to private. I feel like this is them fighting against the outside linked stuff. Like they're saying that if you use it for that, you can tell them that, but we all know that YouTube is not good about that. So I don't suspect it's going to be that easy. I don't think you're going to be able to like hit them up and go, hey, by the way, I make content for Patreon and I don't want you to make them private. Like I feel like they're randomly we're going to hear about like videos just getting privated from people. Do you think this is because they're trying to get people to pay for their service? What do you think the reason for this is? Because I was trying to figure it out. It seems like that's really the only reason why. Why else would they do it? Because do you still use Patreon? You don't still use Patreon, do you?
I have one, but I don't use it because I think Patreon sort of like Patreon for me is like people that require it's like an even more premium service than like the YouTube membership.
Right. Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like the only people I can understand that would use Patreon would be like people that make like more time intensive or expensive content, like animators, comedians, short filmmakers, and stuff like
people
that
are actually selling merchandise that want to use that as like advertising source or whatever. Canada Graphs has a Patreon because he uploads a lot of his photos on Patreon.
Yeah, and obviously people use it as like another means for like OnlyFans. So that's why Eric's considering Patreon. So
yeah, absolutely.
I
just thought it was interesting because I saw it pop up this morning and I got an email about it because I do have older videos that they're not linked anywhere. They're just unlisted videos that I did for family and stuff. And so I was like, well, they're going to go private. Don't matter. So
are you confirming there's a twerk video?
No, there's a prior to 2017. I would never have twerked prior to 2017.
Well, I thought you might have invented the twerk.
Yeah. There's also drama about Candace Patton. There was a video that she did on Instagram Live where apparently someone was asking her about the Flash, and she's like, "Don't ask me about Iris. Don't ask me about the Flash. I don't know nothing about that." And so. And we were kind of like laughing about it because it seems like she was just having fun on Instagram Live and people were probably, getting on there and annoying her. But people are taking this as like a sign of like.
I saw people like blowing there. I was like, imagine you're in that position. You get on all your hand is because she probably gets that in the comment section on Instagram. So she goes in the comments like, oh, what's people saying about this photo I put up? And it's like, we love Iris. It's like, my name's not Iris. My name's Candace.
And I don't want to tell you how Grant's doing. Like, that's the thing is she's like, I don't know how Grant's doing. Like, why would she
like spoil alert? They don't hang out. Like this is outside of the show.
Can I say this is one of the biggest problems with being on a show for so long in a relationship with another actor is people just assume, even though they know that that's not a real relationship, that you are that close in real life.
Like you talk to each other every day,
right? And it breaks the illusion for a lot of people because they can't believe that Candace wouldn't know how Grant's doing because they're in a relationship on the show. So clearly they're that close in real life, and that's just not the case for actors. That's not what they're paid to do. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But yeah, people are saying that she's annoyed with the show and stuff, and I thought it was kind of interesting because maybe she is kind of annoyed with the show, but I don't necessarily think that was.
It's also very important to remember she was the one that was. It was well known that she was the one that was struggling with the Vancouver, like the quarantine, or not the quarantine, like being stuck in Canada and not being able to go home.
Yeah, she's probably happy to be home now. Like,
imagine being home and just chilling at home and deciding, you know what, I'll just jump on Instagram Live, and all of a sudden you're just hounded with questions about the show, like the thing you've just been like the bubble you've been trapped in for the past, whatever, how long it's been. Like, of course, people are dumb.
Yeah,
it's just like what. Anyway.
So apparently there was some update to the story, I guess, unless this is just like shit posting from Hood Rat Pat. I don't know. This is their personal stuff, and there's no show with them on it anymore. Like Steven's not on a show that I watch, so we can talk about it briefly, but I'm not here to like discuss the details of like what went on the plane. Like we can read about it in the news when it pops up. Right now, I don't care enough, honestly. Steigervor with the 4-9 super chat. Well, that was an exciting episode last night of Everyone But the Flash. We're going to get there, but actually I don't want to, because we talked about this yesterday. I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the details of the episode because there's really not much in that to go over. But I kind of want to talk about the state of the Flash and like what we would like to see moving forward, because I think that's a better conversation to have because there wasn't really a lot to talk about from last night. Lord Genome 76 with a $2 super chat. Part of the issue is that many of the fans are 10. I guess he's talking about with Candace, maybe.
Yeah, they just don't understand like what's right and wrong to say or something like that. Maybe. I don't think they're 10. I just don't think they're all there.
Also, it's very clear that Candace and a lot of other creators as actors are not what's the best word to use for this? They're not censoring their content for like the fact that it may not be PG-13, because they say and do stuff that's like very adult, and I don't necessarily know if that's. I'm not saying that they have to censor themselves. I'm just saying that if you are a young kid watching her, it's like, it's just not.
It's also very important to know that, like, remember, like, the only person who's like probably on the show that's like necessarily you could talk about openly with the show and they'd be able to answer questions back and forth about it would probably be Grant.
Yeah.
I mean, with a lot of the shows, anything that's in a franchise and stuff, they're not meant to know everything about it. Like, you can't ask like Candace, tease us Godspeed, like as if she's going to be like able to break it down for you.
So to put it in perspective, and this is probably the easiest way for anybody else to understand this outside of like being a celebrity and being in that position, is imagine you have like coworkers that you work with, and every time you go out with someone else, all they do is ask you about the people you work with. Like, they don't ask you about you. They don't know what's going on with your life. They don't care about anything that's happening with you personally. Every question is about, how is John doing? How is Sarah doing? How is whoever these other people are, and never about you. So she was just probably fed up with like, I'm going to do my Instagram Live. I get on and every question is about Iris and Grant.
The only issue I can think of is I don't know what anyone else would talk about in their life. To be honest, I can sort of understand where people are coming from, because I don't understand. I
agree. I'm just saying from her perspective, that's probably how she sees it. But yeah, I get it. Like, it's
because this like whenever I go out in public, everyone's like, "How's DJ Eric?" I'm like, I don't know.
Right, exactly.
I just get hounded.
I also have to remind myself. Sometimes I see friends that are always together, and when I see one of them out by themselves, the first question is like, "Where is so and so?" And I know that's annoying because, like, why would you ask that question?
Space Fluff asked, "Can we have Candace Pat on the after party?" I think our first celebrity guest that Eric is planning on having on here is. Do I have to say it?
Yeah, whatever. Zoko, I literally never was wrong to ask how you. It's like, so see, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is a good example of like completely missing the point. That is not what I was saying. I'm saying if that's constantly how it is, and you never ask the person how they're doing or how their day was, or you don't have any kind of conversation with them, and you only ask about their coworkers, it gets annoying. But go ahead and take it that way. Go ahead, because that's literally not what I meant.
It's exactly what you meant, Eric.
It's exactly. It's perfect. It's exactly what I meant. All right, so let's talk about the shows. You didn't watch Legends, but if you guys have any questions about Legends of Tomorrow, feel free to ask.
I was actually gonna watch it last night, and I thought, nah, I won't.
Legends in a weird spot, honestly. I don't think you have to forget that it's part of the Arrowverse, honestly, to enjoy it. Geek Information with the 499 super chat. What's up, guys? They also ask Candace for feet pics. Well, that's weird. Hope all is well. Also, I'm a Pagey and Stan now.
I think it's Pagey and Warstu Stan.
Oh, okay. All right, got it.
Considering my profile picture, and I
am not fetish shaming, but I think it is weird to go on somebody's Instagram live and just ask for feet pictures. That's a little.
I think we should. I think we should bring up the larger thing about just the foot fetish in general. We're going to jump into a foot fetish. Okay, we'll probably get demonetized.
We will get demonetized for sure. So we're not going to talk about Legends. I didn't have it up here, but we'll talk a little bit about Batwoman, and then we're going to talk about Flash, and then Superman and Lois, and we will see if Benjamin makes an appearance.
I probably can confirm he won't be showing up.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I
don't know. All right, so with Batwoman, it was called Kane, Kate, I think was the name of the episode.
It was like James Bond.
Yeah. So we got Wallace Day kind of being more of the character this week than, like, I guess more of the Cersei pretending to be Kate, which is really weird. Mentally, it's messing with me. But I think the show's in a weird spot because Wallace Day as Kate Kane / Cersei is doing an incredible job. And that's making it really tough because they also want, Ryan Wilder to be like the main character. But the fans seem to be very receptive to Wallace Day. Do you think this, I think this might be trouble for the show because now they're in a position with what are you going to do with this story? Do you think they're going to send Jacob and Alice and Kate away? Because I feel like that's throwing money out the window for them.
Even though Batwoman season 2 is ending off really strong, man, they've put themselves in the pickle of all pickles because they are spending no time on Ryan. Do you know what the thing is? The only time they spend with Ryan is to try and make some sort of political statement.
Yeah.
They're literally using the color of his skin.
We talked about this, that it's a very fine line between tokenizing a character and actually doing something progressive. And they need to do more with Ryan than what they're doing because it's starting to feel really bad.
And the thing is, as I think we were saying last week or the week before, they'll eventually get called out in it. I'd assume so. If other shows are going to get called out in it, because this one's so blatant as well. Mm-hmm. To me, it's I don't know how you couldn't see it. So it just brings up the debate whether they should just cast Wallace Day to begin with.
I know. If they couldn't get her for the first few episodes, they could have easily come up with a way to because look at what Supergirl does. They literally just film out of order to make the episodes work. So if they knew Wallace was going to be available in episode 5, her schedule would make her free to do stuff at episode 5. Just bring her in and have Kate MIA for a few episodes and then film the scenes with Wallace and insert them into the episodes while another story is going on with them looking for Kate back in Gotham, because then you would have just had Kate going forward and you would have had a new actress playing Kate and it would have worked because Wallace is definitely doing really good in the role. I don't know if it was Ruby's fault or if it was a miscasting. I'm not totally sure, but as of right now, I think Wallace is doing a great job as this character and a lot of people seem to love her in this role. So the amount of emotion that she brought to Kate Kane's character in this week's episode, the ups and downs and all the nuances and everything, we've not seen that in Kate's character at all in the first season. So she's bringing another level to the character that we didn't get before. And I think that's what people are drawn to. Plus, in a lot of ways, Rachel, who plays Alice, was not as good this week as she has been. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I think Wallace was so good as Kate. We're finally seeing a balance of the Alice character because she was so overbearingly good because she was written at a different level than the rest of the characters. And now I feel like they're doing kind of the same thing with Kate. And poor Ryan as a character gets stuck picking up crumbs from the episode. I mean, I thought she was good in this episode. Her stuff where she was dealing with the struggles of, am I good enough to be Batwoman? Should I still be Batwoman if Kate is back or whatever? I thought all of that was good, but it's still, in my opinion, not enough for the character.
It's still playing passenger.
Yeah.
To Kate and Alice.
She should be fighting for being Batwoman. And we didn't get that till the very end of the episode. And it was only because of the fact, and here's the thing, not only that, but Team Batwoman was locked up with Kate, with Cersei driving the car, basically, locking them up in the Batcave, while Ryan is doing everything by herself at the police department, literally all by herself. And I'm like, maybe that was a metaphor. Maybe that was done for that reason. But that separation of her and the teams still this late in the season feels really weird. I think that this story that we're in now should have taken place arguably like closer to the beginning of the season. Like if they wanted to do this, it's so late to be doing this. She's been Batwoman for a whole season. It's a tough thing. And I don't know. I really, really, really want them to have a strong finish. I think that is possible. They're setting up, obviously, the Black Mask is taking over the reigning Crows. Tavarov is going to be becoming Menace, and he's going to have to face off against Luke with Batwing, which, by the way, bringing Batwing into the show introducing Batwing on this show would be like introducing another extremely, almost more popular character on The Flash and then letting them just be a sidekick character. Sort of like the way people felt about Wally, because Wally West is arguably just as popular, if not more popular than Barry has been over the years in the comics, up until recently. And we saw what happened with that. So I have very little faith they're going to be able to balance it on Batwoman because they've had writing problems all along. So I'm excited to see Batwing, but I think Batwing is going to overshadow Batwoman even more than it is right now. So look at the Batwing suit. How cool is that? I mean, at this point, Ryan Wilder has to get a new bat suit because we saw the other one basically ripped up and torn up. So maybe we're going to get a new Batwoman suit that's just as cool as the Batwing suit. I don't know if it's going to be possible because the Batwing suit looks like an Iron Man suit for TV. So I have no clue. Do you think they're going to finish strong? We don't have much time left for Batwoman.
I think elements of it will finish strong. But I don't know if you could go through every part of the show and give it everything above an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
I just don't know how they finish Ryan off strong this season because the character, and this has nothing to do with Javicia Leslie because I think she's trying.
Yeah.
But they're just not giving enough focus to the main character when this is the season where she had to be developed. All I know about Ryan is that her mum died and she talks to her.
Yeah.
Used to talk to her with a plant. Now it's like an empty pot, and that's about it. Like, outside of that, like, don't really know much about her. And then as Batwoman, they started off like the thing. Even with Batwoman, she started off like as like a funner Batwoman, like almost like a Batgirl, which I thought, yeah, go down that route. But now they've just made her into, I'm just going to try and imitate Kate Kane as Batwoman. But it's like, well, you're not trying to look like her.
Right.
You look completely different aesthetic. So be your own style. But it seems like she's being directed to be like Kate Kane as Batwoman. I just don't know.
I also want to point out they had the perfect opportunity to tell a brand new story with this Batwoman, and they just did not do it. That's the biggest problem. That's the biggest failure in my mind. So in the comment section, let us know what you guys thought about this week's Batwoman. If you have any super chats related to Batwoman, feel free to drop them. We'll answer them in between topics. Here we go. Roz with a $5 super chat. Gotta say, Legends has amazing special effects this season. I love the show, but I 100% understand it's not for everyone. So Legends it's not that it's not for me. I've actually enjoyed Legends even more now that I'm not reviewing it because I don't have to think about whether it connects to the Arrowverse. I don't have to worry about if characters are being certain characters or if it's out of character for them, if it's going to lead into something else. It really makes the show better when you don't think about it logically because the show doesn't take itself seriously. So it's easier to not critique the show because it's almost uncritiquable. Unless you're just going to trash it or you're going to just say everything is great. There's no in between with the show. So I don't know. Are you enjoying Legends? I know you're not rushing to watch it every week, but are you enjoying the story this season or no?
I know it's just sort of like a background thing to me. I don't really pay too much attention to it. I just sort of chuck it on. But yeah.
Laura with the $2 super chat here says, do you think Batwoman's going to set up a version of No Man's Land? So is that the story? I'm trying to remember what that is. Is that the one where like all the criminals have like different parts?
It's where like Gotham gets cut off from the rest of the world, and there's like the bridges out of, I think it's like, is it the bridges out of Gotham?
So it's like sort of like what happened in the movies where they did like a
Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah. I don't know if they will or not. They could. I actually don't think the show needs to, because Gotham is kind of disconnected from everything, really, unless somebody just kind of stops in. But I mean, this might be cool. What do you think? Do you think this is something they could do? I mean, it would make it much more threatening, but we have so many heroes on the planet that are powerful enough to just stop this from happening. It almost feels like it would be unbelievable for Gotham to be cut off from the rest of the world, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if they necessarily want to do that storyline. I don't know what they're going to do, though. I'm sure they'll tease it at the end of the episode, though.
Yeah. Geek Information with the 4.9 super chat. I bet type Paige and Eric stand so much for sneaking on my phone at work. Well, you know, I support sneaking on your phone at work. I do it all the time. I don't really have to sneak though, because I pretty much have my own business. But there we go. Connor Reed with the $10 super chat. It's a
non-stop flexing.
It's always flexing. $10 super chat. Sup, dudes? I feel like I should say that good writers know how to develop side characters without sidelining the main character on his own show. Barry should have absolutely been there last night. Yeah, I mean, we can, and as a matter of fact, we can go ahead and start talking about The Flash, I guess, because we don't really have much else to add. So one of the big things last night with the Allegra episode for me was it was a pivotal episode for her as a character. And it feels weird that there was no support system there from the lead of the show, because if you want her to build some sort of chemistry with Team Flash, it needs to really be with Barry there, honestly. And having her do development just by herself, which wasn't really much development at all, it kind of felt like it was a waste, right? Because I said this episode for me was just boring more than anything. It just wasn't. It was weirdly placed in the season, and it didn't do much for anybody. It was, by all accounts for me, all season, this is the most skippable episode of the whole season for me. How do you feel about it?
I'm just trying to think through the episodes we've had, and I'd have to say,
but it's between this one and the Cecile episode. Those are the two.
Yeah, but at least the Cecile one had Barry in it. Like,
right. Yeah. That's why I say this is the most skippable, because outside of the big reveal at the end with Joe and Kramer, I mean, we may see like Allegra use her powers at a different level, but I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I don't think a lot of it's going to be a big deal. Most of it we could have done in another episode. It really didn't require an entirely separate episode for this, to be honest. So I think it's a skippable episode, in my opinion.
The only thing you really need to know from it is that Joe and Kramer are working together now, and I guess Ultraviolet is now not evil.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Joe stuff first, because I feel like that was probably the best part of the episode, because Jesse is one of those actors where it's very hard to not get a good scene out of him, because he's such a good actor. So even when he's reading like really bad scripts, you know, he's going to do a good job. I thought that Joe, according to Eric Wallace, was going to get something in relation to like corrupt police storylines or a Black Lives Matter storyline or something like that. But now he's doing search and rescue and trying to redeem someone who tried to put his friends in jail. Like, does this feel weird? It feels weird to me. Like, this doesn't, because Eric Wallace said he wanted to do something like the Real World. What about this is Real World? There's nothing in this story right now that feels Real World to me. This is completely just a made up, fabricated thing that has nothing to do with anything related to like police corruption or Black Lives Matters or anything like that.
Well, they never said it was about that. The term they actually used was abuse of power.
Yeah, but even so, though, that's not really what this is anymore.
No, yeah.
Right?
Well, at the beginning it was, but now it's, unless like they.
But
But it's not really because they're trying to redeem Kramer.
Yeah, no, but that's what I mean.
Justify, yeah.
That's what I mean. At the beginning it was, but unless they try and make it that now it's the actual, this other guy, Adam Craig, whatever his name is the real abuser of power or something along those lines. Like, I'm not going to judge something until it's over. So because it's taken this like detour, I don't know where they're going. Like that was actually the thing that I took from that episode. It wasn't like, oh, like what are they actually going for? Like in regards to the topic around it. I was more like, okay, well, where does it end? Because I was expecting to go down a different route with it. And now they've introduced this other character. So now I really have no idea where it's specifically going. So
I agree with Haley here. Like this was not a good look for Joe because he easily was like, he just flipped. They had one conversation and he's like, oh, I get it. And now he wants to work with her. It feels quick. It feels unearned to me. It's like, so, okay. So first off, I don't care about Kramer as a character. I think she's a really boring character. And I think,
I
don't care about her story at all, but I like Joe. So I care about the Joe portion of the story, which is why it makes me so angry that they're trying to do this redemption story for Kramer and they roped Joe into it. And this is one of those times where I feel like we're getting into the Quentin Lance territory, like the last couple seasons that he was on Arrow, where it felt like they were giving him stuff because he was such a good actor and he had been on the show for so long that they didn't want to like just get rid of him, or they couldn't get rid of him or whatever. So they gave him stories to try and hold him in, and the whole relapsing of drinking and everything. Like this feels to me like it's that, because this doesn't feel like a good story for Joe. I don't like where the story's going. And I think Joe they could have given him a much, much better, more meaningful story than this. So I know we have to see where it's going to go. I'm not going to judge it 100% now, but I will say that I hope by the end of the season that it does make sense, because right now it doesn't feel that way for me. So what did you think the Joe stuff was good? Did you enjoy it in the episode?
No, Bulls, the only thing I thought was actually overly relevant.
Right. I feel the same way.
So it's the only thing I really like paid 100% of my attention to.
Yeah. Fireflame with a $5 super chat. I feel like they missed an opportunity with not doing a Batman and Batwoman versus Hush arc. I don't even know if we're going to get Batman at this point. I
was going to say, like, yeah,
like
if it was Batwoman versus Hush arc, then fair enough. But like, I don't know, it's not easy for them to use Batman.
Yeah, Batman is still sort of. So I feel like Batman and Wonder Woman are the two characters that are kind of just like locking away right now. You don't really see them outside of like the big movies and stuff like that. So there's that. Got a few notes here about the episode as well. So Allegra was supposed to be the main character this week, but I would argue that her cousin felt more important. Sue felt more important. Allegra and I'm not going to like I'm not going to comment on the acting ability of the actress who plays Allegra, but Sue was charismatic. She felt like a stand-in for Barry 100%. And Violet had a more interesting story than Allegra. The only thing we got out of Allegra from this episode is she leveled up at the end and she feels bad for what happened to her cousin. She feels responsible for it. That's it. And the setup for a romance with Chester, which she keeps calling him Chuck, which by the way is weird. I know Chuck is like another name for somebody named Charles, but is Chuck another name for Chester? Because I know in the comics it's Chunk. So I feel like they're trying to make it. He's not a big guy though, so they can't use Chunk. It feels really weird to me. Like we didn't get much from Allegra in an Allegra-centric episode.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you agree that it felt like Sue and Ultraviolet overshadowed, or Esperanza overshadowed Allegra this week?
Well, I think like they did. Specifically Ultraviolet. Like it just felt like it was specifically an Ultraviolet episode. Like I saw someone trying to defend the Allegra side of it, saying we learned more about Allegra. I'm like, okay, here we go. Hypothetical. This is like Eric's positive review.
Okay.
This is Paige's hypothetical situation where you won't be able to answer it because it didn't happen.
Right.
Name me 3 things we learn about Allegra in this Allegra-centric episode that don't, I repeat, don't/do not involve Ultraviolet. Can't name one.
No. Nothing. And the thing is,
but here we go.
Yeah.
Name me a couple things we learn about Ultraviolet.
Oh, we learned exactly how she was hurt. We learned that she was what was it, manipulated by the doctor and operated on. We learned about her powers, her past, how she feels, why she's doing it, why she's been hunting metahumans, why she was working with Black Hole, why she went on to be a mercenary. We learned a ton of things about Ultraviolet that had nothing to do with Allegra.
Okay, so through our hypothetical, or should I say hashtag Paige's hypothetical situation, who was the focus of this episode?
Ultraviolet.
There we go. 1 + 1 = 2, my friends. 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah, we got that romance set up between Allegra and Chester. That doesn't feel organic at all. It feels like one of those things where like the writers are like, oh, we have 2 single people that work together. Let's put them in a relationship, which by the way is not going to end well because it's going to end up being annoying on the show. And this is why Danielle, who plays Caitlin, has always said it, like I think it was like 2 years ago or whatever at Dragon Con, that she didn't care about love interest on shows because it's not important for female characters to have a love interest. And look at Supergirl. As much as I've complained about Supergirl over the years, we've had 2 seasons with Supergirl not having a proper love interest. William never really took off. They tried it, didn't really take off or whatever, but she hasn't really had like this main love storyline. And the show, from her standpoint, has been fine. Her storyline has been fine without it. You don't need it, but the writers seem to always want to inject it, especially with the female characters, some sort of like love storyline. And it feels like they know Allegra's not interesting enough as a separate character that they want to latch her onto a more interesting character, which is Chester, just to give her more of a story, which is really sad because it just goes to show there's not a lot there. Allegra's, unless they introduce some weird, like something that's happened to her in her life that comes out of left field that makes her interesting right now, there's nothing about her. This was their opportunity for us as viewers to learn more about Allegra and become connected to the character. That did not happen this week. And well, I'm not sure.
The main thing is just, it's not even about knowing stuff. It's just making us care.
Yeah.
Like, that's the most important thing. Like, the reason that the Flash works, especially from like seasons 1 through to 4 and 5, even last season as well, is that you feel connected and you care about the main characters on screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they earn a bit of that with Chester this season. Not saying they fully earned it.
I actually care about Chester, though. I care about him as a character.
Yeah. I think they did well with the Chester episode, and they made, and just not even just through his episode, just through his appearances on screen. But Allegra is just like falling behind. It's like someone that just missed the gate at the race.
Allegra was created by Eric Wallace, right? Isn't that his character?
Yeah, and I think that's it. I've said this in a couple of videos. It's the only reason she's on the show,
right?
Is because he created her. I can't see any other reason why. Specifically, this very obscure character from the Titans comics is now on the Flash as like a reporter. It's very obscure, and they could have made it work, but they just like, it's like they don't want to make it work. It's really odd.
Yeah. I was just reading the chat there. Some people were talking about Candace's live or something. There's a super chat. We'll talk about it here in a second. Mark Hill, Scott said with an eye on super chat, says, to me, these people aren't good writers. It feels like they rather pander to audiences and appeal to everyone except the actual fans of these characters. How they treat Ryan is offensive, yet I saw this coming. So I guess we're talking about just in general with the Arrowverse shows. So one of the things, and again, I can't speak on behalf of other communities, marginalized communities or representation in that way, but I've watched like lots of different podcasts about it. And one of the things I didn't realize or didn't understand, and I've mentioned this before, is there's a difference between true progressive writing and inclusion and tokenization. And it's a very fine line that you walk, whether or not that actually happens. And I think the CW needs to think better about how they want these characters to be represented, because just going, okay, here's a black character, here's a gay character, here's a Latinx character, here are all these characters or whatever, we're going to put them on the shows, and that's good enough. And it's not good enough. If you want these characters to be fully realized, you have to actually put in the work to do that. And I think that's where Batwoman's going to struggle at the end of the season. People are going to look back at the show and say, how much of this was good writing and how much of it was them just trying to score points with the fans? And that's really kind of the big deal there. And so I really, really hope that their takeaway from this season, after it's all said and done, and I don't know if they're going to learn their lesson from this, is if you're going to give us diverse characters, put in the work to make those characters matter and stop just putting them in the shows because you want them to be there. And I say this knowing full well that before Batwoman even came out, before season 2 ever happened, I was one of the people who was very optimistic about it. You can go back and you can watch the after parties from that period in time when I was talking about it, watch my videos on it. I was very excited about Javicia Leslie coming into the show because I thought we're going to get a Batwoman, a black Batwoman who is part of the LGBTQ, and we're going to get these stories that are going to be dynamic. They're going to be different. We're going to see Gotham from a different perspective. And I felt like they were really putting their foot down on doing something big with this character against all the people who were saying they're just doing it for brownie points and all this other stuff. I was one of the people that said that for pretty much leading all the way up to the show began, several episodes into the show. And now I feel as a viewer that I have been betrayed because they haven't really done enough with the character, I think, to earn the respect of the viewers, because they take advantage of the intelligence of the people watching, which is something that Superman and Lois does not do. And we're going to talk about Superman and Lois here in a bit. But you have the opportunity to come in and inject these stories featuring a black female who's a lesbian. I think she's lesbian or bisexual. They haven't really talked on it much, but I think she's a lesbian on the show because I think Javicia is bisexual. Again, don't know. Don't come after me. She's part of the LGBTQ+.
Eric is canceled. He's just been canceled.
But you have the opportunity to tell these dynamic stories with these characters, and instead of doing that, you go down the route of inject real life story, and then don't give us anything else from the character. And that is a huge detriment to Ryan as a character, because in a lot of ways, Ryan is like Allegra, where they went for the surface level stuff and they haven't really built the foundation of the character. And that's a big problem. And it's even bigger problem on Batwoman because, one, she's the lead character, and two, the character that she replaced is now back on the show again, which makes it even harder because now you're battling with the people that love that character from season 1. And now you feel even though you were a replacement for Batwoman, the character of Ryan was a brand new character. But now you've got the people that said that you were a replacement, realizing that, yes, you were a replacement. And the showrunner said she didn't want to kill off Kate Kane. I know we're back on Batwoman now, but anyway, the showrunner didn't want to kill off Kate Kane because she didn't want to do the kill the gays trope or whatever by doing that. But I would argue that what she's doing with Kate now is not any better than just killing her off. Like, you're basically destroying the character, which is why I'm worried on what they're going to do with this character moving forward. And in a lot of ways, moving back to The Flash with Allegra, is you have a character that Eric Wallace created and they wanted to bring in or whatever. And he could have done anything he wanted. That's his character. He could have gave her a really dynamic backstory. The problem is they tried really hard to connect her in with Wells, and then once he was gone, it left her with nothing.
Yeah.
And so that made a huge mistake. So there's just so many little mistakes they make. And as a viewer, I'm watching it and I'm going, you know what? I get it that writing these shows isn't easy. Like, you can't, I give them credit for having to deal with the struggles of being writers, writing episodes that are sometimes out of order and stuff like that. I give them credit for that. But at the end of the day, I think it comes back to the showrunner and the people who's in charge of the season and their roadmaps for the season. Because if you can't start out with that being a good foundation, then the writing doesn't even matter. It really does start with the ideas from the showrunners and their choices for who's going to be writing, who's going to be directing, and things like that. So ultimately, the captain goes down with the ship. So whose fault is it? Is it the writer's fault that Allegra isn't good? Is it Eric Wallace's fault that Allegra isn't good? I don't even know who to blame. But we're stuck with this episode with this character where we still don't know anything about her.
I think it has to be Eric Wallace because it's not like it's just one episode. It's like Allegra is just a non-entity in regards to relevance from the get-go. Even with the Nash stuff, like, because it was a different version. It was like an alternate Earth version. It wasn't even her. And people asking what a brownie point is. A brownie point is just like aiming to please, like going out of your way to please someone, pretty much.
It's like getting a gold star in school for doing something.
Yeah, but trying as hard as you can to get that gold star.
Yeah. Also brownie points are also, the way I've always used them is you're trying to get points for doing something, but you don't really care about what you're doing. You're just doing it.
A perfect example is like you've got someone that you want to get in a relationship with, so you just do whatever you can to please them, so they'll be like, yeah, let's go out on a date.
Right. You go to a restaurant you hate that you know you hate, but you go there with them because you're like, oh, if I do this, I'm going to get extra points for that. So basically, yeah. So I feel like they've done that a lot with some of the shows on here, whatever. Anyway, moving here, let's move on. Anthony Belcher with 1.9 super chat. Thought Candace Patton saying on Instagram Live she's done. No, I didn't get that impression from it. If she were leaving,
I think she's just annoyed that like she jumps on all and people want to talk about is Iris, and she's like, "My name's not Iris, my name's Candace." That's probably what she's thinking this to herself. She jump on her Instagram comments, just be Iris, Iris, Iris.
Yeah,
and she jumps on Instagram Live, Iris, 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 flash, flash, flash.
I mean, but it's hard though because that's the only character she's really known for, which is what makes it difficult. Which is why I say being on these shows for so long, it's really tough. Like for example, the Jared Padalecki and what's the other guy from Supernatural, Jensen Ackles or whatever. It's going to be hard for them to break out of Supernatural because they were on that show for like 15 years or something. They were on there for a really long time.
Well, I think it depends if you whether you don't like it or not. I like with the Supernatural, with those two, I don't think they mind it. Like they seem to tag all the Supernatural stuff.
No, anyway. You can embrace it or you can just get annoyed with it.
But there's other examples like Tom Welling. Like Tom Welling when he left Smallville. Like he hated that like 10-year period, like that 5-year period, after he left Smallville. He hated people really talking to him about it because he didn't want to just be known as Clark Kent. Mm-hmm. But now he started to embrace it as he got older because he's like, gotten older. Right. Now he started to embrace it over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And that's probably the same thing with Candace. She'll probably not want to talk about it for like the 5 years whenever the show ends. And then she'll talk about it later because it'd be the most iconic thing that she's known for.
Right.
And that's not me saying that she won't do anything. I'm just saying this is clearly, it's the same with Grant. It'll be the biggest thing that they do is the Flash.
Yeah.
Like same with Melissa Benoist. Like she'll always be known as Supergirl. Mm-hmm. And all these things. Stephen Amell, Arrow.
Even though she was on Glee, she was on there for a very short time.
Yeah.
Most people know her from Supergirl.
She'll always be known as, like, everyone will always know her as Supergirl.
Right. Well, like Ruby Rose, do you think that's why Ruby Rose stepped away from Batwoman?
I think Ruby Rose stepped away for other reasons, or was asked to step away for other reasons.
So this episode was a huge miss for most people. I saw a few people defending it. It's fine if you liked it. We got Chilblain is out now on parole. Like everybody gets out on parole. Doesn't matter, super villain or not, you just get out on parole in Central City, I guess. So he's out now. So we got that little part at the end, but that's because Danielle directed the episode. I do want to point this out though. I don't think the episode was poorly done.
Yeah, everyone the amount of people on Twitter was like, "You're not going to compliment Danielle's directing." I'm like, is it even worth it?
Yeah.
Like,
what is the point of complimenting her directing when there's so much negative about the episode that I don't like? It would feel disingenuous. The
thing about this episode is that this is just one that we just need to forget.
Canada Graphs.
Just forget this episode happened.
Yeah,
that's probably the best way to put it. Like that, because there's episodes like the Force finale where it's just like, what were they think? Like, how do they not see what was wrong and what was working and not go down the right path? Mm-hmm. And those are the ones where you just sort of question it afterwards. But I think this is a classic episode of you just forget it and move on.
Yeah. So I believe Supergirl's coming back right after Superman and Lois is done, right? Or is it Flash? It's one or the other. One of those two, and Supergirl comes back.
Supergirl's not back till
August.
August, I think. I don't know if it's the week of Stargirl or if it's a couple weeks after.
It's after the other shows are done, like Superman and Lois.
Yeah, because it replaces Superman and Lois's time slot.
Right. Yeah. Where is it at? There's another question here that's going to show up, but anyway. All right. So with that being said, though, do you think the Flash is irreparable at this point? Like, do you think there's no way to fix the show? No, because a lot of people are saying that the Flash is over and that there's no way to fix the show moving forward.
Yeah, but you know who they are. They're probably the people that thought that season 6 was a bad season.
Yeah.
And they probably, and I said this to you in the DMs, they're probably the people that go, man, how good was season 5? Man, like that was so good. Man, Cicada flying away at the end of every fight scene.
Right.
Man, that was so inspirational. it was game changing. And no other show could live up to this flying villain. Look, season 6 can't compare to the flying villain.
Look at this. Season 6 was terrible.
Yeah, I think Zaya's trolling. I've seen a bit of a lot of the other things in the chat. I think it's just trolling.
Daniela here with 20 sec here. Will Allegra be called Super Never moving forward? I don't really know, but if Eric Wallace has any say so, I'm assuming they are going to try and
because the thing with this season is that people seem to forget. What was it, up to episode 7? I think it was. We were applauding Eric Wallace. You know, like I think like you had an issue with like episode 6 or something, but you didn't think it was a bad episode. You're just like, I didn't like it as much as everyone else, but you still thought it was a good episode, like solid at least. The only episode in that bunch was episode 3, but we sort of were like, we understood why it was an issue because it seemed like they were just trying to cram so much into that one episode. The only episodes I think have been like problems have been the two, like, well, the what would you call it, the 2-part finale of whatever the Force thing was, just because they dropped the ball. Oh, they didn't drop the ball. They dropped the cake. And they dropped the cake on the carpet, and it was a chocolate cake with ganache. It was sticky.
They left the cake out in the rain, is an old saying there.
No, it's not even that. They left the cake out in the rain. They brought it in, and they dropped it on the carpet. It had caramel, marshmallow, fluff, chocolate. Are you getting hungry by me saying this there?
Yes, I am. Actually.
Would you lick it off the carpet? That's the big question.
No, I would not do that. So.
But
Hater,
that's what
Hater,
I mean. Like that was
what a name, Hater Z. My review is up, by the way. Go check it out.
# plug.
Plug it.
But they just stuffed that up so much at the end of that. And I was on the board of redeeming it because at the beginning of that second episode, that second part, I thought they were going down the route that I wanted to go with. Then they slipped in the cake. They stepped on it.
So I actually have a really long list of things that I think they could do to fix the show. But I think the primary one, like the major one, is as much as Eric Wallace, because we talked about that interview last week, I believe, as much as he wants to lift up some of the other characters, the show still has to be about the Flash. It still has to be about Barry Allen. And I think if most people, and this is the one thing I've noticed, when I've had problems with episodes in the past, like because I nitpick things sometimes just beyond normal nitpicking, but I do that. There are people that love the episode just because Barry did some cool stuff. And that's enough for people, right? But when you have bad episodes like 2 or 3 in a row that just aren't that good, and Barry's not in it, and there's no cool stuff,
it's stacks on stacks on stacks.
It's a problem. So I think that all you have to do is get Barry back as like the main focus of the show, and then lift up the characters around him. We talked about this. I don't remember what show it was. I feel like I've said this before, like in another after party from like years and years ago. Maybe it was Supergirl. I think it was Supergirl. You have to lift up the cast around the main character and make that the story. You can't subtract the lead character from a show and expect people to just be okay with it. And that's kind of what's happened here with the Flash. So based on the trailer for next week, though, it looks like we're going to be going back to having the Flash, as a big part of the show. And I think that's important, because keep in mind also that Iris, who has been a character that a lot of people said deserves a lot of screen time and should be there as much as Barry, she hasn't really been a main character the last few weeks. So it's been weird.
Yeah. Like the thing is that like, it's me looking at it. I'm like, outside the Force ones, because they just stuffed it up from the cake's on the floor. Like you're not getting that stain out, no matter how you clean it. You're gonna have to get new carpet.
Yeah.
So but I'm just saying, the episodes that we've had over the past 2 weeks, the Cecile episode, we've already talked about how it would have been perfect. It would have been probably a great episode if they'd involved it with Psyche in the first half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe not had Psyche walking through the streets and just scaring people.
Right.
Like maybe revolve around Cecile, or like that's a major part of the episode. Maybe you can walk around the streets for the opening bit or something. And then there's and then you don't necessarily have to have Barry in that episode too much, or you can have minimal because it's more Cecile stuck in this thing. But then like to not have Allegra in this week's, not have Barry in this week's episode with Allegra the decision to not have Barry in this episode is more shocking to me than their weird decisions in the Force finale.
Mm-hmm.
because I think it's just so obvious that you needed Barry in this.
It was
episode.
easy to do too, because just like you said, they could have just swapped some things around to make it.
Well,
work.
they put Sue in Barry's role,
yeah,
but they made Sue this like complete opposite side of the spectrum.
They didn't even need to have Barry in the mindscape with Cecile. Like that was unnecessary.
No, they didn't. It just needed to be Cecile. That's why Barry was. And if it was just this order, and that was the exact same. Like what they didn't put the Cecile episode in the first half. It was we just had the episodes as they were. They didn't need Barry in last week's episode. 100%.
That what could have happened to keep Barry out of the episode last week was just knock him out. Like have him unconscious for the whole episode.
Well, Cody said Grant picked a really bad time for a break. I don't know necessarily if it was Grant that picked that. I think it might have been Eric Wallace that picked this was the episode for Grant to have a break. Because the thing is that everyone needs to understand they don't during the COVID thing, they weren't allowed to fly home and get those normal breaks that they get. And there was also COVID delays and stuff like that. So this was always going to happen. There was always going to be an episode or two that Grant wasn't in, just like how all the other actors, they're not in certain episodes. Like a lot of the actors have like not hardly, but like, they just won't be in episodes and stuff like that. So this was always going to happen.
Right.
But it's the case of picking the right one. And they picked one of the worst ones.
It was a really bad one to do it. Yeah. Captain J with a $2 super chat. You think Bane is going to look good? I think if you're talking about Batwoman, it's not going to be Bane. It's going to be Menace. I think
they've used Bane's Venom, but it's not Bane.
Yeah. It's going to be like another character from the comics named Menace, but I don't know if it's going to look good or bad. We'll have to wait and see. I don't think we're going to get. Do you think it's going to be like a CGI thing, or they're just going to make him like super strong or something? I don't know if they're going to go for like a weird CGI monster on Batwoman.
They might make it just that he gets strong. Like maybe doesn't like necessarily like bulk up or anything like that when he injects the venom.
Maybe, possibly, not sure. So anyway, let us know in the chat. Do you think that the Flash can be fixed? Did you enjoy this episode? Did you not enjoy this episode?
That's the thing I'm interested in. This is going to be the interesting thing. If they nail the last 4 episodes, I bet you people just forget about the rest of the season.
Probably.
That's the thing, because that's just typical internet.
Well, they always say it's not how you start. It's not how you start. It's how you finish.
Yeah, that's why people think Endgame's better than Infinity War.
Yeah, which I disagree. I think Infinity War is a better
because of how Endgame ends. Yeah.
Anyway, so Vetro says I actually enjoyed the episode.
It's fun, but
the Flash hasn't had a good arc since the Bloodwork arc. Haley says it can be fixed very easy, actually, but they just need to do it.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing. It's whether Eric Wallace is willing to accept that people have issues with how things are handled, because you could make the argument that the Flash is in a very Arrow season 3 situation, and by that I mean this is a pivotal moment where you decide to listen to the core viewership who are saying we don't like this, we like this, we don't like this, we like this, and everything like that, before it turns into an Arrow season 4. Because that's what the Arrow people did. They didn't listen. Season 3 ended really badly. They just played it off like, no, you just didn't understand it or anything like that. It was just not your cup of tea. And then Arrow season 4 happened.
Right.
So they're in that type of situation. And it's whether Eric Wallace. I don't really think it helps that he's privated his Twitter account, because I think it would be too bad if he actually was reading the online stuff, or at least stuff. I'm sure he's probably reading it, but I think I don't know. It's probably doesn't help these.
I got a lot of flack because we read the article last week, and a lot of people took the wrong opinion away from me, or I guess they took it the wrong way. Like, I don't disagree with some of his ideology for the show. I think a lot of his ideas are good. I think being more diverse is good. I think lifting up some other characters is really good. I think all of that works. I think just not at the expense of the main character, and not at the expense of the quality of the storytelling. That's really where I fall on it. Like, if you want to do the stuff that he's doing, it's fine. I like the idea of the graphic novels. I like the idea of, having these mini finales in the middle of the season and stuff. All that's fine. It's just the execution of it isn't at the level that I want it to be. And I mean, maybe it's because of COVID and restrictions. I don't know. I think it could be better though.
It's the Grant not being available for an episode is COVID stuff, just because of the whole break stuff. But
yeah, it's
in regards to like limitations in regards to what you can and can't write in regards to storylines. It's not COVID related.
Yeah,
like I think it's almost naive to say that.
Anthony says the Endgame had a better story.
Okay, we can move on. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't know if that was silliest comment of the day, but we can move
on. Captain J, is Ryan going to have a new suit? I suspect that Ryan will get a new suit because they basically destroyed the other one. So, and of course, Luke will have the Batwing suit. So, yeah, I'm assuming we're going to see Ryan with the new suit at some point. All right, so let's talk about Superman and Lois. This was a long title. What was it? A brief reminiscence in between cataclysmic events. I think that was the title of it.
Yeah. AKA ACAB.
Yeah. AKA episode 11. So this episode for me, so I've said this before. I love backstory. It's one of my favorite things on a show. Getting to know a character, knowing their history, knowing
Baby
little
got
secrets.
backstory.
Baby got backstory. Absolutely. I love the backstory stuff. So this episode for me was like, it was just like the first 30 minutes of it, like the first 30 or 40 minutes of it was like, it just was so good to me. Because we got a quick, it didn't feel rushed, but it felt quick, like a catch up on like ketchup, like you put on, stuff or whatever, but ketchup,
dude. Ketchup and mustard,
not catsup, however you pronounce it. We got this brief mechanic where we learn about this Superman who was on Earth Prime, and even though it was in like this VR setting, it was basically Clark's memories or whatever. I love this Superman now. This is I don't see how anyone, unless they've got their head up their ass, could not like this version of Superman after this episode, because it gave us just about everything. As a Superman fan, it gave us everything you could possibly want. I don't know what else people could want from Superman. I mean, he really did. We went through, like, we saw him when he was a teenager. We saw him in Smallville. We saw him come back with his mother. We saw his life getting back together. We saw him with the Daily Planet. We saw his romance with Lois. We saw just about everything that you needed to see to basically fall in love with this character and to fall in love with Lois as a character. I don't know what else they could do, honestly, right? I mean, they gave us everything in this episode in terms of backstory. We really don't need to know that much more about him. And that's hard to do, to fit in that much into like a 30-minute block of an episode. Maybe it's me. I loved it. What did you think about these flashbacks? I mean, did you enjoy this part of it or no? Like, what did you think?
I couldn't stand it. They copied Zack Snyder.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay. I just hold on. Okay. I just turned off the idiot switch. Okay. It's off. Okay. So I can just talk normally without seeming like we are mentality of a 10-year-old. Actually, correction, 5-year-old. No offense to 5-year-olds out there, but sorry. Anyway, that first, like half of the episode, what you want to say is 20 odd minutes,
25, 30 minutes, whatever it is.
Whatever it was in my opinion, the greatest piece of Superman material I think I've ever seen.
Mm.
And you could argue the entire episode, but obviously it veers, in that last third, if you want to call it. But that origin flashback and stuff, I just smile on my face the entire time. And I wish that was a movie. I wish I got 90 minutes, 2 hours.
I know. You know what I was saying when we were watching it? I was like, you know what? I would totally watch either a mini series, a limited series with, Clark and Lois and stuff, because it was that good. Yeah. And I wanted more of it. And I think that speaks to how well it was done. The fact that you love that much of it, that you want to see more of it.
We obviously had our worries heading into this show. Not overly, because I was always positive going into it, but there was just a question mark about
my worry was about Todd Helbing.
Todd Helbing, because we've already mentioned season 5 of The Flash and the yikes around that. But I've always said I think it's because he wasn't able to handle the superhuman element of it, and because they went over the top with it, like the time travel and stuff like that. While Superman and Lois, while it's literally based around superhuman or Superman, it's still a very grounded show at the core of it. Mm-hmm. And it's more than just, I can fly, I can punch people. It's about actually being human and relationships and family and everything like that. And I think that's where Todd Helbing's striking in. I think he is taking a lot of personal stuff and putting it into the show. And I think it also just proves that I think he, not just him, obviously you have other people involved with the show as well, but everyone that's at the core and that's making these big decisions around the show they seem to just understand Superman. I know that's that's a trigger word for a lot of people, but I think that's just the best way to put it. Because this is the version of Superman that I love. It does feel like the best of. It feels like the best of those, that Superman from the comics that is like, I'm not sure, but like just feels like I know it's such a cliche, but like a beacon of hope. And then it feels like you take from the Christopher Reeve, which is like I think like at least it's my version of Superman. It's the one I watched, even though like the Brandon Routh one came out when I was like 12 or something like that, or 11. Like Christopher Reeve was the one I was watching when I was like 7 or 8.
Right.
And I don't know, I just feel like at the moment the show is nailing, I think, what Superman should be and what he represents in the perfect sense. And I'm interested to see where it goes. But this episode specifically, I think it's like, I'd probably give the entire episode a 10 out of 10. But
that's
specifically,
spoiler alert, that's what I gave it on my review too, because I just loved it so much.
But specifically that, as I said, like that whole flashback sequence before Morgan sort of goes, "Hey, I was spying on you," before he comes in, I'd give it like a 12 out of 10.
So I just don't know how you can be a true Superman fan and not like the series. It's baffling to me. Like there's pockets of hate online about it, and I kind of see it from the same places. There's certain groups of people that don't like the show for whatever reason, but you can like both of them. There's no rule saying you have to pick one over the other. You know what I mean? And there are things that I liked about other versions of Superman. But I will say for me, the one we're getting now on the series is the perfect blend of all of the classic stuff that people love so much from that character. You know, I mean, there's throwbacks all the way to the radio shows back in the day when there was no live TV. It was just, talking about superheroes on the radio. There's callbacks to that. There's callbacks to the classic 80s stuff. There's callbacks to the classic 90s stuff. There's even callbacks to stuff that's done in the films. All the different movies, including Zack Snyder's movies. There's all these different things, these elements that are brought together in the show to make what I think is a quintessential Superman story. And so as someone who Superman has never been my favorite superhero, but same. He is a superhero that everyone knows. Like, Superman's story. You've read Superman comics. You've seen Superman in the animated series. You've seen him in live action before. Everyone is familiar with who Superman is. But this is the Superman where I would, like, if I were in that world and there was a Superman defending me, this is the one that I would want. This is the one that I love. The one that goes on TV and jokes around and speaks in like different languages and stuff like that. It doesn't feel weird because it works in this world. We've established that.
This feels like a Superman that would actually legitimately be a role model to everyone.
Yeah. He didn't even want to claim where he was from in America because he didn't want that stigma. And that's what I love about it.
And the fact that he knew all these languages and stuff, so he wasn't went out of his way to learn them as well. So he wasn't just a resident of America or an English.
Right.
He was.
I actually love that he said he learned them and it wasn't part of his powers, because that means something. He took the time to learn the languages. He didn't just use his powers to learn them. And that says something about him as a character. And also the little flirtiness between him and Lois. Like, a lot of people talk about like what feels natural and what doesn't. In this episode, they don't insult the intelligence of the audience. The first time that we've really had a mention of like the flirtations between them was from the director or the producer of the show when Lois was talking to her or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, they don't put it in your face and go, "You're going to agree with this because this is how it is." Like, we get it. We're not stupid. We're not idiots. We don't need you to tell us every 5 minutes how important Lois is to Superman or how important Superman is to Lois. You don't have to tell us that. You show us that. You put it in the story. You make it feel natural. If you have to tell us and constantly hit us over the head that these two people are in love, then you're not doing it right. It has to feel real. It has to feel like we're really watching this story and we're getting caught up in this world. We should not have to be told that. And that's the biggest issue with so many other shows, is that they have to constantly remind us that two people are in love and they mean so much to each other. Show us that they love each other. Show us that they care about each other. You don't have to tell us because that doesn't mean anything at that point. Let me jump off the pedestal for a minute. $4.99 super chat from Geek Information. Can we talk about how horribly they're handling COVID? Like other shows have more people in the studio. I think he's talking about The Flash, how empty the show looks. It does. There's a lot of open space with like nobody in it. I think shows like Superman and Lois benefit from being in Smallville because it's not a big city. So it doesn't look as weird when they're standing in these big open spaces. But yeah, on a show like The Flash where it's in Central City, it does sort of stand out, especially during the daytime shots. But yeah, it is what it is. They could be doing a lot better. That's true. I agree with that. So also we got to learn quite a bit about Morgan Edge or Tal Rose history and how his father basically subjected him to like almost torture to teach him a lesson on how to like be a good soldier for Krypton. And I'm getting sort of a Zod vibe from it. And then I thought about it. Maybe it's not Zod. Maybe it's just the Kryptonian military in general is like that. Is that, would that be fair to say? Instead of,
well, I think it just might have been Krypton in general, because they've always said that like Jor-El and Lara is sort of like almost like rebelled against like the status quo of what Krypton. So, and obviously like the military would have been such an integral part of the planet. So obviously that's a factor.
Yeah.
But at least Clark's like, and they go, oh shit, pretty lucky I wasn't born to you. God.
This is a good question, and several people have talked about this. I think we spoke about this a little bit last week. There's been some question about why Supergirl is not being mentioned on the show, and there's been outtakes of the character. Do we know why? Have we had any updates on why they're just not acknowledging Supergirl? I mean, it's clearly on the same Earth because Diggle is going to make an appearance. So
yeah, he's in the trailer for next week. Oh, not next week, the next episode, because they're on a 3-week break, I think it is. But one of the writers said it was just so they didn't trip over each other's timelines and stuff like that, like where the shows are, which I can that makes 100% sense.
Right.
However, not mentioning Kara at all or acknowledging
it doesn't require a timeline thing just to mention her.
Just say, oh, remember when I did that thing with Kara or whatever it would be? Or remember when Kara came and visited the farm? Or there's just a photo of her, like it's just little things like that. It's odd. It'd be very odd if the show, like season 1 ends of Superman and Lois, and there's no mention of Kara, because obviously by the time season 2 comes out, Supergirl's done. Like it's finished.
Yeah. Jimmy was referenced in this episode, Eric. I talk about that in my review a little bit. The time frame of James Olsen doesn't line up on the show. There's no way he would have been old enough to be working at the Daily Planet when all that was going on. So that was a little weird. I'm hoping that was just an Easter egg for the fans, because chronologically his age doesn't line up with when Lois and Clark would have been working.
And also technically Jimmy's technically left left Supergirl before Crisis, didn't he?
Did he?
Did he?
I thought it was after Crisis.
When did Jimmy Olsen leave?
Chat. Someone who is much more into Supergirl.
Or did he leave after?
Didn't Jimmy leave or James Olsen leave after Crisis? I think he left after Crisis.
Remember Kelly was Guardian? She had the shield during Crisis. When they're saving all the people.
Right. Okay, but here's the thing, guys. Even if he left before, since we are acknowledging that he was there and his sister is there, then unless he's like 20 years older than his sister, it's still a problem.
Yeah.
Because Kelly's still there. And Kelly was born in 1983, and he was a couple of years older than her, according to the show. So that would have made him born in like 81.
The one thing is that I'm sure Ben would have liked. Did you notice the Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets poster in the movie theater?
I did. Yeah, I did see that.
So at least, yeah. I saw that. I was like, Harry Potter.
Also, I don't think James is gone for good. I think we may see him come back again. So I'm going to say, I think he might be back for the finale. But the thing is that either way, with his sister still being on the show, there would be no way to retcon his age, because if she wasn't there, you could simply say he was an older person, but there's no way they can do that. Yeah. So either way, he would have been like not even 18 at the time that Clark and Lois were working when he first went to the Daily Planet. So yeah, that's a little weird.
I'm just going to be older,
younger by 2 years, and she was born in 1983.
So he was born in 81.
Yes.
Well, he would have been like 22.
No, because of the fact that they were talking about Seinfeld, which ended in 98. So
no, but there's Seinfeld reruns.
Right. But I'm saying also you have to take into account the birth of the kids. So you subtract that age from the kids, and then you come up with like a 4-year window.
Do you want a timeline diss track right now?
What's
we
that?
saw Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets in the window.
Yeah.
That movie didn't come out till 2002.
Right, but that's not when they mentioned Jimmy Olsen, though. That's not when they mentioned Jimmy Olsen. Jimmy Olsen was mentioned on Clark's first day, which would have been in the late 90s.
Rewind. That's when he first went to. That was when he went back to Smallville after leaving the Fortress of Solitude. That was 2002. So that means he didn't get to to Metropolis for the first time ever until at least 2002. Rewind.
There's no way.
Forward. Jimmy Olsen would have been at least 21.
But he wouldn't. But would he have been a big time photographer at the Daily Planet at 21? Even so, probably not.
Mate, he could have been a child prodigy with a camera.
I highly doubt that. He didn't even get his camera until 1992. So
he was child prodigy with the camera. If you got it, you got it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's a chronological error there, but we're not going to talk about that.
Okay, so Eric has just been timeline distract.
No,
live on the After
you are being McShilly Shill is what you're being with that.
No, I'm being hashtag logical and correct.
Are we totally basing this on the reality of our world? Because there may be different.
We're
in their world, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets came out in 1995. How about that?
Don't pull that out of your ass because that's not true.
Cody with the $5. Shows like Nancy Drew breaks the season. One of the DC shows have so many. I'm really curious. Oh, because of the special effects and stuff. I'm guessing, right? I mean, right? Is that what you would say?
Yeah, because what would Nancy Drew is just like ghosts and stuff like that, isn't it? Something.
It's not as much stunt work. Like they don't do like as much. Like I'm not saying that's a definitive reason, Cody, but I would say it's probably because we know Superman and Lois is taking so many breaks because they do. It takes a long time to film those episodes.
I don't know how they're going to make the finale work. So in regards to how it looks, because
why is that?
The finale is in 5 weeks, and they just started filming it. So by the end of the finale, they're probably going to have like 3.5 weeks to do all the special effects and stuff like that. So it'll be very interesting to see how it turns out.
Yeah. By the way, all the people who are so pressed about the Jimmy Olsen references, people really care about that? I mean, I was basically joking about it.
You made it a big deal. So you
I was joking about it. I was joking about it.
Everything's a joke.
Why do you think I was like, oh, well, you subtract the years of the kids and you do that? Like it was a joke. Like I even talk about it in my review as a joke. So it's funny.
There we go.
Let's see. Emmanuel says, I hate when people bring up SJW and political agendas comics for one bit at a time. They've always been political. It's not agendas. It's bad writing. If the writing was better, it wouldn't matter. That's absolutely true. Like we've had shows that have done like stuff that's super political and super social commentary, and it works because you don't think about it because it's done so well. The only time people actually think about it is when it's done poorly and it feels like a PSA. And we've talked about that with other shows before. One of the shows that jumps into my mind for that is basically the Arrow like gun control episode, which was just poorly done. And there's been other episodes on Supergirl like that where it's just not done well. If you do it right, it doesn't matter. Like a lot of the movies have covered stuff like that. Almost all the Captain America stories have covered stuff like that. So yeah, there we go. Newt says my theory. See, here we go. Jimmy was the little boy Superman saved in the first scene. I agree with this. This is absolutely true. 100%. Just go ahead and put this on the wiki. I think it's right. I'm going to stand by that. All right.
You're just going with it because it lines up with your terrible calculations of time.
It does actually. Yeah. So one of the things, let's talk a little bit about the VR thing before we start to wrap up our thoughts on this episode. I was not sure what that vision was in the VR world. I thought maybe it's like a villain that's going to come back later. Like I thought that was somebody he was seeing in the past that's going to become relevant like later on or something like that. I didn't realize he was in a VR world. So they totally changed it on me. Like straight up, did you think that was a VR? Because I had no idea it was a VR thing. I thought he was just a flashback episode, honestly.
I thought it was Jor-El.
Okay.
At first. Because I thought, Jor-El, I thought it was like, when he came to the Fortress of Solitude at the end of last episode, Jor-El put him in some sort of recovery thing, or like a machine had flown over and put him in some sort of recovery thing. So it was maybe like Jor-El or something. But then when I know it happened like literally a couple seconds after, but when he was like skipping and stuff like that, I was like, well, so there's something else is going on here. Is it something to do with Morgan? But I thought it was Morgan tapping into that Fortress of Solitude through his one. I didn't realize Morgan actually gone to the act like Superman's fortress to mess with him.
Right.
So yeah, I thought it was Jor-El when it was happening.
The bigger question is, where was Leslie when all this is going on? I feel like we're going to get like something next week where it's going to show, or not next week, but when the show comes back, it's going to show where she's going to have been doing something on the side while Tal-Rho was there, while Morgan was there with Clark. I think that we're going to find something else because he's got a plan. Obviously, there's something else going on for sure. I want to comment on this only because I think it's interesting that I agree that Kara should be represented in pictures or even mentioned on the show, but the show is not going to give you like all of this Supergirl connective tissue. And this is one of the things that, you know, when Superman wasn't a show and he was just guest starring on Supergirl, that everybody always asks like where they're at and whatnot. I get it. We all want it to feel like super, super hyper connected, but you just have to realize that they're separate shows. Like you're not going to get a ton of content crossing over unless it's a crossover episode. And that's because the writers aren't going to inject, like, say, for example, if you're writing a comic book, if you're going to use, like, I don't know, Green Lantern in a Batman comic, you have to go and speak with the people that are writing Green Lantern at that time, or the editors or whatever, to find out what you can and can't do with that character, what's going on with them. Does it match up in the timeline? Is this an Elseworld story? Is it all that? It's pretty much the same thing with writing the shows. They have to check off on everything they're doing with characters because you can't have them come over and do stuff that's going to like contradict something, which is why Supergirl, they were saying they didn't want to cross timelines with the shows or anything like that. So I don't expect to see a lot of Kara on the show based on what we've seen so far. And I wouldn't expect Supergirl to cover a lot of what's going on with Superman as well.
It's also important to remember that they've sort of retconned that past because it didn't become Superman until 2002,
right?
Basing off the Harry Potter poster, which Eric now hates,
which came out in 95,
okay, 2002 or 2003, whichever it was. But in Supergirl, like they said, like she landed on Earth in I think 2004 or 5 or something like that.
Yeah,
and I think it was that time. And Superman, he'd been Superman for a while before that. Like longer than just a couple of years. So they just even retconned that a bit. So maybe that's why they wouldn't want to touch it at all, which I can side with based off that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing, Jordan. I don't mind a name mention or a picture or whatever, but I don't think we can expect to see any major story changes from another show represented on a different show. I don't know why they would do that. Roz says, I hate that Jor-El died. I hope he comes back. So are we confident that he's gone? I don't know if he's totally 100% gone. Maybe he is.
Well, I don't know.
Breaking that shard.
Could he just take another stone, the Kryptonian?
Yeah, that's what I feel like is the technology they use to put consciousness in people. I think they can do that with Kryptonian crystals as well, I think.
Yeah, so wouldn't he just, he took one. That was what he took there initially to make the fortress. So wouldn't he just, isn't it? Yeah, it was, wasn't it? So wouldn't he just take another one potentially?
Right. Yeah. So Joe says that timeline was for Earth 38, not Earth.
Yeah, but Kara didn't age 10 years or is now 10 years younger. We're meant to believe that.
Yeah. I agree, Anthony, but there's not much we can do about whether or not they acknowledge Supergirl. The show's ending. I don't think they really care too much, honestly. And I know that sucks if you're a fan of the show. I get it.
But it's just like you're not gonna harm a show or like, question a show too much or like its origin stuff or what you have already set up of a show based off a show that's ending in like 6 months or something, whatever it is.
Yeah. Captain J2 Super Chat. What if they show they're in a different Earth? So, because Diggle's going to be the point of connectable if they're on a different Earth, it just doesn't make any sense. They went through the trouble. Superman and Lois was the only remaining show that's going to be in the Arrowverse that was combined when the crisis happened. If they go through the trouble of showing that being on a different Earth, then it really would mean Crisis is for nothing. And I don't think they would do that at this point. I think they want to keep it on the same Earth because we are going to get a crossover next season. There's going to be crossovers. Like we're going to see these characters back together. So don't worry about that. Yes, Robot Eric returned. Thank you.
Robot rock.
Yeah.
Rock.
So Maddie says the show is creating a global scale, which I haven't felt on any of the other shows before, which is why it's takes so much longer to film. It's just really, the show requires so much more. And I've always felt like Supergirl should have been a global show as well, but clearly they needed a little bit more in their budget. And I feel like that's what they're doing for here. All right. So at the end of the episode, we find out that Superman, who is weakened from doing his solar flare, has to jump in to save his family because Jordan got the diss track from Morgan Edge. So what is this? What are we sharing? What is it? Oh, Diggle.
Yeah. That's Diggle's double take.
Yeah.
And he's wearing his classic black leather.
Yeah.
And black jeans.
Huh. Is that another diss track then? Are you just handing out L's today?
I don't know.
What's going on?
Potentially.
Canada Graphs with a $5 super chat. All right, I got to take off. Have a good week. Hope next week episode of The Flash is at least one half as great as the last two episodes. All right, there we go. Thank you, Canada Graphs. So we get to see him, and Jordan takes the L from the heat vision. Which, by the way, I saw a lot of people getting mad about that. They're like, "Why did he get beat so easily?" I mean,
hello.
Morgan is or Tal-Rho is the equivalent of Clark.
Yeah, if not more powerful. He's been on Earth longer.
Yeah. So there was no way that Jordan, as a half Kryptonian, was going to be able to beat him that easily, especially without having like full power or whatever. So we saw that happen, and we saw Clark submit to him because he's worried about, his family and stuff. Do you think that Clark is doing a fake out here, that he's going to be evil, or what's going to happen? I have a theory, but I want to hear what you think first, and then I'll give my theory.
As in, like, pretending that he's actually being controlled.
Yeah. That he's just going along with it until he has a plan. So maybe.
I mean, I guess it depends how that whole thing works. Whether they
basically, I'm asking, do you think we're going to get an evil Superman story? Do you think that's?
I don't think he'll get to the point where he's actually evil.
Okay.
I think he'll be brought to the brink, and then it'll be like Lois that sort of snaps him out of it.
So I wonder, because in the comics we know the Eradicator and the whole like the Reign of the Superman or whatever. Do you think we're going to get another Superman that looks like Clark, that's wearing the black suit, that's actually just the Eradicator? Do you think we're going to see that?
What's no? It's good Superman versus bad Superman in like a final fight.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Would you want that or no?
I don't know. I hate it when it's just like opposites. Like it just feels like early Marvel movies. And
would it feel too similar to the evil Supergirl storyline from like 2 seasons ago? Do you think it would feel like that or no?
Yeah, but that was like sort of like that was sort of like an element that wasn't even really the main part, like all the final things. So,
which also was stupid. It should have been the main story.
Yeah, it should have been. They set it up to be.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So that's what I think. But I don't want like a full on evil Superman. I don't mind if we do like a fake out, but I just don't want an evil Superman for the season. I feel like it's too soon for that, honestly.
If anything, if they're going to do like an Eradicate type thing, I wouldn't mind if maybe like Zeta Rho just makes Morgan into that. Like it's like the final thing, like just to make it into like this mindless killer.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right.
Because we still don't do we know whether like what happened to Morgan or Tal-Rho or that version of whatever happened on John Henry Irons' Earth?
No, I don't think they've gone into that.
That's still like they've just really discussed like.
I wonder if that because Lois calls John at the end, obviously, and tells him to come on. Do you think that's what we're going to find out? He's finally going to reveal like the whole story, because he didn't tell us the whole story. He just said that things are happening the same way they did on his Earth. So
yeah.
It's kind of interesting. Loris, $2 super chat. Didn't Jordan get a crystal from the ship when he touched it? I think it was the same one, right? Or was it not the same one?
It was the same, yeah. It was the same type. There was like heaps of them in there, but it looks of it.
So I'm wondering if those crystals are copies of consciousness or not. I wonder if that's the case. I don't know. I have no clue. But yeah, I think he did get one. Jonathan didn't get one though, just Jordan. There's another super chat here. Where's it at? Right here from Mike Glenn, Fortnite super chat. I was hoping the twist was going to be there where we're seeing the origins of the evil Superman from Steel's Earth. I think that's what they're trying to do, but I don't think it's exactly the same. I think it's a similar.
There's already a big difference. Like that Superman didn't, or that Kal-El didn't have Lois,
and he never had the red and blue suit. It was always the black.
He was always black. So I was like, look, where was he from? Did he always land in Smallville, or was he from elsewhere in the? Right.
Was there even a Tauro on Steel's Earth?
Yeah, was he that version of Tauro? Was that Earth's Jor-El? Or was he the son of Lara and Taro?
You know what? I'm wondering if. I just thought about something. What if the opposite happened on that Earth? Like she was supposed to be with Jor-El, but she ended up with Zeta-Ro instead.
Like, is it flip? Yeah.
So that version of Superman was their Morgan Edge, was their Superman, and our Superman was actually the bad guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My head, that gives me a headache to think about. I hopefully we'll get more information on it in the next episode. We have to wait so long for it, by the way, which is crazy. So we've got till what, July? When is it? 20 something? Is it the 19th or something like that when it comes back? I thought it was the 13th, but someone said it was even later than that.
I'm pretty sure it's the 13th. I'm pretty sure they have their final 2 episodes on their next 2 episodes on the Flash's last 2 episodes. Superman Lois comes back on the week that the Flash 150th episode is on.
Yeah. I hate that we're taking all these breaks because I am really, really enjoying the show. But it doesn't seem like the breaks are affecting the viewer. People are coming back to the show. Like, it's not that they're forgetting about it and not coming back. Like, they are coming back to the show. They're watching it. They're supporting it. People seem to really be loving the show, except for a small group of people that have an issue with it. Will not be named here. But I'm loving Superman and Lois. This makes me really excited again for Stargirl, because I think Stargirl is going to be another really solid show.
She's a Stargirl, yeah.
And it makes me excited for Naomi, because I think Naomi is going to be really good. If this is the level of stuff they're bringing out. So Naomi, now, do we know? Wait, was there a date for that, or has it just been set to order?
I think it's coming out beginning of next year. It'll probably premiere at the same time as Superman and Lois. The good thing is that, are you ready for the hashtag twerkalicious dab? It seems that Superman, Lois, and Flash will not be on the same night at all next year. So different nights.
Surprise, surprise. Interesting.
And you know what's good? Superman and Lois is ending the week before Stargirl starts. So you're not getting Stargirl and Superman and Lois on the same night.
I can't wait to talk about that.
Instead, Eric will get the double dose of Stargirl and Supergirl.
Okay, I changed my mind. I like Stargirl, so I didn't review the last couple episodes of Supergirl. Lord Gina with the $2 super chat. Morgan Edge's dad looked like Palpatine. He was ugly. Like, I was like, did they go out of their way to make him look disgusting? Like, it really, like, he looked like just like, if evil could look like something, it was that guy for sure, 100%. So I didn't even bother to look up the actors like real looks, because I didn't want to but it just looked really bad in that hologram. Hello, PM Productions. Glad to have you back. Thank you for continuing to support the channel. Hope all is going well with your exams and stuff. Super important. What is this here? Any story using kryptonite before Superman's world blew up is 100% fail, as kryptonite only exists after the world was blown up. Wait. What story were we referencing there?
Who's got the kryptonite?
I'm not sure which one.
I think the Growly Bear thinks the orange gems they use is kryptonite.
Oh,
they're not kryptonite. I think I might have said kryptonite, but they're not. They're like gem things. They're like crystals. It's like the crystal that Superman uses in the other ones. It's like a crystal.
Okay. Yeah.
But they made them orange. Maybe it's just an aesthetic thing.
Yeah. So a lot of people were asking about the Morgan Edge thing. It did confuse me a little bit. Just think of it this way. Morgan Edge is basically Clark Kent. Like, that is just the name that he's using. It's his Earth name. That's it. I don't think there was another Morgan Edge. I think he's always been Morgan Edge. Because he even said in the episode from this week that he was basically planning to do it. Like, he did it without
doing what Superman did. Like he did everything behind the scenes or whatever as a businessman. So I don't think there ever was a real Morgan Edge. Is that correct? I think Morgan Edge has just always been Talrow.
Yeah, Morgan Edge has been a cover name.
All right. So
because it's not like he had a family either, so he just must have pulled that name. Maybe
right, yeah.
Edgy.
He wanted to be edgy. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Morgan Edge. So
wait, hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Eric equals Morgan Edge confirmed. Eric is Talrow.
I could be. Could happen. So what episode of Superman and Lois are they filming right now? I think they're almost done, right?
They're on the finale. They just started the finale, I think.
Yeah. So Joe, yes, we had Morgan Edge and Supergirl, not season 1. We did have Morgan Edge on Supergirl, but that was pre-Crisis. So
the excuse.
It depends on what you consider canon anymore. Anything,
hold on, Eric.
Yeah.
Oh no, you finished what you're saying.
I was gonna say anything before Crisis can be argued is no longer canon.
Okay, and this can go for the chat as well. Did anyone buy anything off Prime Day on Amazon?
Are you asking me as well?
Well, I'm asking you and all the chat.
I got a fan.
I bought a chopping board.
So, like, spoiler alert, Prime Day is basically them trying to clear out their warehouse. All the stuff you see in the deal section is like whatever they have left over. Also, there's this controversy completely unrelated to the Arrowverse stuff where they apparently somewhere in New Zealand, I think. Do you know what story I'm about to tell? Apparently, there was a warehouse where it might have been somewhere else. I think it might have been New Zealand. I don't know. Where there was an Amazon warehouse where they're ordered to destroy stuff after a certain amount of time. And we're talking about stuff that people could use, like medical supplies and things like that. I was like,
what the hell?
What? Yeah, there's a story about it. So anyway, but yeah, Prime Day is basically them clearing out their warehouse or whatever. So is Tal and Zeta Rho completely made up for Superman and Lois? Because some people were saying they're from the comics, but I don't remember them anywhere from the comics.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure they're made up for the show, which would make sense considering that they're saying this dude left so long ago, might I say.
Yeah. So, all right, I'm going to take down the banner. Since no Benjamin, I guess we'll do a quiz next week because we didn't prepare to not have a third guest. So I'm going to ask the chat, though. Would you guys like a chance? And there's a couple of stipulations to this.
Ooh.
Would you like the chance to join us for a quiz during the after party to face off against either myself or Paigey?
And or maybe Ben if he decides to turn up.
If he shows up in a quiz for us, if we come up with a way to do it. The only stipulation is you have to be good on camera. And if you break any rules, you are permanently banned.
So, as Eric would say, no nudes.
Yeah, basically that. We may come up with a system on how to do it. I have to think about it, but I would love to have you guys join in. And yeah, Canada Graphs can do it when he's here. So
people have said Kahoot, but Kahoot's too easy for people to cheat.
Oh, is it?
Well, yeah, because they can just quickly Google it while that's happening, even if there's only a 7
minutes. That's right. So the ones we make, you can't do that because it's unless we share it publicly.
Yeah,
you can't do it. So
Kahoot's too easy to cheat. So it has to be one where
yeah. Right. Okay, so basically, some people are being so mean. Don't you scare. So basically, during this next week, I'm going to think about how we're going to do it. But we will start inviting people on for the quiz portion. But if you agree to do it, like if I connect with you on social media and you decide to jump on and chat with us, you have to have your camera on so we can make sure that you're not, doing anything wrong behind the scenes or whatever. And no copyrighted content. That's the two big things.
So that means no Hot in Here playing in the background.
Right, basically. So we'll talk about it coming forward. So see, there we go. Demonetized right away. So also, well, actually, I'm going to do all this before we go because I want to get this out there. I'm going to be doing a members only live stream. On this Saturday, coming up Saturday. Ooh. So if you are a Team Eric member of any tier, doesn't matter which tier you are, I will be doing an AMA on Saturday afternoon
and I will post the time and stuff up on the community tab. So if you are a Team Eric member and you want to come in and chat with me on a members only chat or whatever, you can hit the join button to join up at any point. You can do it the day of if you want, jump in and chat. But it'll be doing an AMA and basically just come in, ask questions. You can chat with me. Maybe you can jump in the stream and, chat with me on the stream. It's going to be a lot of fun. So there we go. There's a couple things that are happening for me pretty much. So am I copying Ben by doing a members only stream, which like every channel under the world does? Sure, I guess. Because doing
I think he's asking if you're copying Ben because of the British accent.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
So, but so we'll do the members only stream on Saturday. Again, the time is TBA, but I'm going to do it on Saturday so more people can join. And I'm going to try and do it in the middle of the day, my time, so that way it's better for more time zones except for Australia. So that way we can weed out the Tasmanians and the Australians and the New Zealand people. Just kidding.
Well, the thing is, and you thought you escaped this.
What's that?
When are you doing the Australian food taste test? Because
okay, so you have to send me a box of stuff. I can't get Australian food here. How am I supposed to do it? I have to make it myself.
Well, I might have to do that, won't I? I have to send Eric a package with goodies.
Yes, like anything that's inherently Australian that travels. I don't want to get like a Hungry Jack burger that's been traveling for like
well, to be honest, it might last the trip, to be completely honest.
The trivia streams are always except for today because we didn't prepare for it, but at the end of the after
so if I sent a box, would we dedicate half an hour of an after party for taste testing?
Yeah, we could do that.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I would do it.
I'm already thinking about what can be sent.
Yeah, just a collection of Australian things. Like
I'm just trying to think. I think I'd be able to send. I was trying to think of this one thing that I think I'd be able to send, and I'm pretty sure I can. There's only one thing I'm sort of wondering whether I'd actually be able to send it or not.
Yeah,
I think I'd be able to.
Somebody says, question, why do we have YouTubers calling everything woke? Because it gets clicks.
And also, like, if they actually legitimately think everything's woke, then I think it's just because they don't actually have another term to use.
Let me ask you a question. Why would you spend the entirety of your life watching stuff you hate just to make hate videos on it? It's such a waste of time.
Do that with Legends?
That's why I don't do reviews of Legends anymore. If I legitimately hate something, I stop reviewing it. That's just the way it is.
Well, to be honest, you did go through the Saw test of Inhumans.
Well, that's because it was the first season. I wanted to see I think one season is worth it, but I think spending your time watching stuff that you don't like speaks a lot to like who you are as a person, honestly, to get views.
Can we get a recreation of your reaction of walking out of the IMAX theater after watching the first 2 episodes?
When I was at Dragon Con, that was awful. So I was so excited. I remember I was looking for tickets. I went online to get tickets or whatever, and they were like, oh, there's like limited seating and whatnot. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so good. Because the trailer, to me, there was very cinematic shots of it with them running through the jungle and splashing water and everything. I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be really good. So I got my tickets and I had to find where this place was because it wasn't near Dragon Con. They have, in Atlanta, they have a railway system, like a light rail. I guess it's called a light rail, where you can travel around the city and whatnot. And the place that I was going, the theater that I was going to, wasn't near where one of those was. So it was I had to get a Uber or whatever to get there. And so it was a lot of work involved. Plus I had to cancel plans in the evening because I had stuff planned out that I had to get rid of. So there was a lot of work that went into going to seeing the first 2 episodes together and whatnot. It's I remember we went in and we were just so excited to be there. And I walked out of there with I felt like I had wasted 2 hours of my life. This was Dragon Con. This is a huge thing. And I went in and I wasted all that time watching these awful, it was just awful. And I tried to talk myself into it. I think I was one of those people where I was like delusional about it. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be better. It was just the first 2 episodes or whatever. No, it was awful. It was just awful. And there was no one, I can say this 100%. There was no one that came out of that theater with us that was even talking. It was like just dead silence. You know, like I came out of Aquaman, or you come out of Shazam, or you come out of all these movies, and people are talking, they're excited, even if they hated it, they have a lot to say, or they're speaking their mind. With the Inhumans, it was nothing. It was absolutely nothing. It was just completely silent. So, yeah, I hated it. Like, just bad. PM Productions here saying, not saying I hate Supergirl, I'll never review it in 2016. Back in that first season when I was done with it, I was like, yeah, I did hate it. They moved it and then they changed it up and it was okay. That first season is painful. It's absolutely painful. There's some people that say they love the first season of Supergirl. Did you see Red Tornado? Did you see Red Tornado? Hold on. I want to pull that picture up before we go. This was Red Tornado from Supergirl. I just want you to look at this because this pretty much speaks to the way I feel about that first season. Here we go. This was the Red Tornado from Supergirl. This here.
Got the same gloves as Ravager from Titans, the gardening gloves.
Look at this. This was Red Tornado.
What's with the eyes? And then go Red Tornado Arrowverse, Christ on Earth X.
Look at that one. That looks so much better. I didn't realize how much better it looked. So good. And then you have this. It's almost like they tried to make him look like Vision, right? From Marvel.
I think just that they didn't want to use any sort of CGI, so they just used to.
Look at that. So good. Yeah, that's pretty dope. Not the one from the first season of Supergirl. Just saying. Yeah, it was pretty cool in the crossover. He looks like the Costco Vision. Looks like a low-rate Power Ranger villain. A Doctor Who costume. Oof. At least they tried. No, never that. All right, so that's pretty much it, guys. We're going to get out of here. So I will let you know more about the quiz later on. Saturday will be a members-only live stream. I'm going to do a taste test of Pagey's box of goodies. He's going to send me.
Someone's going to clip that.
But see, if you didn't say that, they wouldn't, right? I mean, I feel like
they would have clipped that.
I feel like that was a self-fulfilling prophecy there.
Why did you have to word it like that? R.I.P. Yeah.
I don't know. Who cares? I don't care. Do you agree with this? Carl with characters more developed character on the CBS than the CW? Do you agree with that? I don't know. I don't know.
I can't remember. Like season 1 of Supergirl is just a rom-com, and then it becomes like a superhero show.
I will say this: the first season of a new show, typically the lead character does feel more developed because that is the character that you're following around. With the exception of Batwoman season 2, because apparently they can't get that right for whatever reason. So anyway, we're out of here. I will catch you guys in the next stream. Don't soundbite that. Don't take that and clip it, please. Don't. Do not put it on Twitter. Do not tag me. And now I've just basically asked people to do it. So there we go. Just out of here. See you guys next time.